The signal from TRAPPIST-1e. The signal wasn't supposed to be there. I was alone on the observation deck of the Aegis Dawn, staring at the endless sweep of stars through reinforced glass, when it cut through the data stream like a steady heartbeat. At first, I dismissed it. Space is full of noise, cosmic rays, dust interference, the chatter of dying stars. Our instruments catch 1,000 false alarms every cycle. But this wasn't random. It came from one place, one planet, TRAPPIST-1e. Most of the crew didn't even notice. The Aegis Dawn was on routine patrol at the edge of the Kepler Gate, ferrying cargo and supplies between colonies. I wasn't even supposed to be running deep scans. It was just a habit of mine, a way to pass the long hours in the void. But when the signal appeared, repeating with a precision that mocked chance, I froze. Pulse, pause, pulse, pause. Like someone was knocking against the hull of the universe. I'd been working aboard deep space vessels for 12 years, ever since the colonies started expanding beyond the inner systems. The Aegis Dawn wasn't glamorous. A converted cargo hauler with reinforced hull plating and enough life support to keep 30 crew members alive for months between stations. Most of us were here because we couldn't afford passage on the luxury liners or because we were running from something back on Earth. But I was different from most. While the others saw empty space as something to endure between destinations, I saw it as an ocean of infinite possibilities. Every shift, when my official duties were done, I'd steal time on the sensor arrays, scanning, listening, searching for something, anything that might prove we weren't alone out here. Command tolerated my hobby because I was good at my job. Chief Systems Analyst Marcus Chen, they called me on the roster. But privately, the crew had other names for me. Ghost Hunter, Signal Chaser, the guy who thinks every cosmic fart is first contact. Let them joke. I'd rather spend my off hours chasing mysteries than drowning them in synthetic alcohol like half the crew. The TRAPPIST-1 system had always held a special place in my collection. 7 planets orbiting a red dwarf star, 40 light-years from Earth, close enough to study, far enough to remain mysterious. 3 of those planets, including TRAPPIST-1e, sat squarely in the habitable zone where liquid water could exist. What made TRAPPIST-1e particularly fascinating was its unique position. The planet was tidally locked to its star, meaning one side experienced eternal day, while the other knew only endless night. But between them lay something extraordinary, the Terminator Zone, a narrow band of eternal twilight where day and night met in permanent balance. And now something was singing to us from that twilight. I sent the initial logs to the science bay, marking them as anomalous readings for review, priority low. Dr. Sarah Williams, our chief science officer, had a reputation for dismissing anything that smacked of sensationalism. Hours later, her response came back. Atmospheric interference. Stellar magnetosphere interaction causing false coherence in electromagnetic readings. File under natural phenomena. Ignore. But I couldn't ignore it, because alongside that rhythmic signal, the readings of TRAPPIST-1e were coming alive with detail that shouldn't have been possible at this distance. Nitrogen atmosphere, denser than Earth's, but not crushingly so. Traces of carbon dioxide creating a modest greenhouse effect. Even water vapor signatures concentrated along what our models suggested was the day-night boundary. The signal pulsed in cycles that seemed to match the planet's unique meteorological patterns. Each pulse lasted exactly 1.7 seconds, followed by a pause of 3.4 seconds, a perfect 1-to-2 mathematical relationship that nature rarely produced by accident. The precision was unnerving. It was as if something understood the delicate balance of forces that made life possible in that narrow twilight band and was broadcasting in harmony with them. Every off-shift, I found myself drawn back to the observation bay. I'd sit there with my headphones clamped over my ears, listening to that impossible rhythm that the ship's computer had converted from electromagnetic frequencies into audio. It wasn't the chaotic static of stellar interference, which sounded like rain on metal. It wasn't the regular tick of pulsars, which had the mechanical precision of a metronome. This was something else entirely, organized and intentional, yet flowing with an organic quality that suggested creativity rather than mere function. One night, 3 weeks after first detecting the signal, Lena Santos found me there. She stood in the doorway for a moment, studying me with the kind of analytical gaze that had made her one of the best communications officers in the merchant fleet. "You're still at it?" she asked, settling into the chair across from me. "It's not random, Lena. The patterns are too precise, too consistent. This isn't stellar noise. Everything out here looks like something if you stare at it long enough," she replied, but her tone suggested she was genuinely considering the possibility. Instead of launching into a detailed explanation, I did something simpler. I handed her my headset. "Just listen," I said. She sighed, indulging what she probably assumed was an obsession born of too many months in the void, and pressed the headphones over her ears. For 30 seconds she sat perfectly still. I watched her expression shift through several phases, initial skepticism giving way to concentration deepening into something approaching wonder. When she finally lowered the headset, her movements were slow and careful. It sounds deliberate," she whispered. I nodded. "Like language, like communication." For the next few weeks, we kept our discovery to ourselves. Every cycle, the signal grew clearer and more complex. The basic rhythm remained constant, but new layers of information were becoming apparent. Harmonics and overtones that suggested a depth of meaning we were only beginning to glimpse. And then, during one of my solitary listening sessions, everything changed. The rhythm was evolving. What had been a simple pulse and pause pattern was developing complexity, rising and falling in waves that felt organic, almost breathing. Mathematical relationships were emerging between frequencies, creating harmonies that spoke not just of intelligence, but of something more: artistry, creativity, beauty. This wasn't just communication. This was music. I leaned forward, my heart racing as the realization crashed over me. This wasn't stellar interference or atmospheric noise. This was intentional creation, transmitted across 40 light-years of space by minds we couldn't begin to imagine. The song was getting stronger. 3 days after Lena first heard it, the signal had evolved beyond anything I could have imagined. What started as simple pulses had become layered compositions, harmonies building upon harmonies, mathematical progressions that seemed to dance between the frequencies like living things. "Marcus, we need to talk." Lena's voice crackled through the comm system. There was an edge to it I'd never heard before. I found her in communications, surrounded by displays showing signal analysis data that shouldn't have existed. Our equipment wasn't designed for this level of detail, yet there it was: spectral analysis, frequency modulation patterns, even what appeared to be linguistic structure embedded in the electromagnetic pulse trains. "How long have you been tracking this?" I asked. "Since you showed it to me," she admitted. "Marcus, this signal, it's not just getting clearer, it's adapting." She pulled up a comparison chart showing the signal's evolution over the past month. The pattern was unmistakable. Each day, the transmission had grown more complex, as if responding to our observation. "It's like they know we're listening," Lena whispered. Before I could respond, the communications console erupted with incoming messages. Emergency priority signals from 3 different sources: corporate headquarters, colonial administration, and something labeled only as Deep Space Monitoring Station Omega 7. The first message was from corporate, a terse directive ordering all vessels in our sector to report any unusual electromagnetic phenomena. The second was from colonial administration, requesting immediate data transmission of any anomalous signals of potential artificial origin. The third message made my blood run cold. "This is Deep Space Monitoring Station Omega 7 to all vessels in Grid 77 Alpha. We have detected coordinated electromagnetic transmissions originating from multiple sources in the TRAPPIST-1 system. All civilian vessels are advised to maintain standard routes and report any unusual sensor readings immediately. This is a Priority 1 directive. Lena was already pulling up our long-range sensors, expanding the scan to encompass the entire TRAPPIST-1 system. What we found changed everything. TRAPPIST-1e wasn't alone in its song. The sensors showed similar signals emanating from TRAPPIST-1f and TRAPPIST-1g, the other two planets in the system's habitable zone. Each signal was distinct, yet they were clearly related, harmonizing with each other across the vast distances between worlds. It was as if the entire system had become a cosmic orchestra. "We need to tell Captain Rodriguez," Lena said. "Over the next 6 hours, I conducted the most comprehensive sensor sweep of my career. Every instrument on the Aegis Dawn was focused on the TRAPPIST-1 system, painting a picture that grew more extraordinary with each passing minute. The signals weren't random. They were coordinated, timed with mathematical precision that suggested real-time communication between the planets. When TRAPPIST-1e's signal reached a crescendo, the others would respond in harmony. But there was something else. Something that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. The signals were directional. All three planets were broadcasting toward the same region of space, the general direction of Earth and the inner colonies. They weren't just talking to each other. They were trying to talk to us. "Marcus?" Dr. Williams' voice came through the comm system. "Could you come to the science bay? There's something you need to see." I found her staring at a holographic display that showed the TRAPPIST-1 system in 3 dimensions. The planets hung in space like glowing jewels, connected by streams of electromagnetic energy that pulsed in rhythm with their transmissions. "I owe you an apology," she said without looking at me. "I was wrong to dismiss your initial readings. This is unlike anything in our databases." "What changed your mind?" I asked. "The transmissions are modulating in response to our observation," she explained. "When I increased the sensitivity of our receivers, the signal strength increased proportionally. When I shifted to different frequency bands, the transmissions shifted to match. It's as if they're actively trying to establish communication." The implications were staggering. This wasn't just detection of alien signals. This was the beginning of actual contact. "There's more," Dr. Williams continued. "I've been analyzing the mathematical structure of the signals. They're incredibly sophisticated. Prime number sequences, geometric progressions, even what appears to be references to physical constants like the speed of light. These beings don't just understand mathematics, they understand our mathematics." "How is that possible?" "I don't know. But Marcus, there's something else. These transmissions are reaching us too quickly. The TRAPPIST-1 system is 40 light-years away. Any signal they transmit should take 40 years to reach us. But these signals are responding to our observations in real time." The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. If Dr. Williams was correct, then the beings of TRAPPIST-1 had been trying to communicate with Earth for decades, carefully timing their transmissions to arrive precisely when humanity would be capable of detecting and understanding them. "We need to inform the captain," Dr. Williams said. But before I could respond, the ship's general alarm began blaring. Captain Rodriguez's voice echoed over the comm system. "All senior staff to the bridge immediately. We have a situation." The bridge was chaos when I arrived. Captain Rodriguez stood at the center of the command deck, surrounded by displays showing long-range sensor data that made my blood run cold. "Gentlemen, ladies," he said as the senior staff assembled, "we have a problem. Long-range sensors have detected multiple objects on intercept courses with our position, ETA approximately 6 hours. The tactical displays showed them clearly. 7 objects, each roughly the size of a small spacecraft, approaching from the direction of TRAPPIST-1. Their trajectories were too precise to be natural, their velocity too high to be explained by gravitational mechanics." "Captain," Dr. Williams said, "I don't think those are threats. I think they're envoys." Rodriguez turned to her with an expression that mixed skepticism with growing concern. Explain. The signals we've been detecting from TRAPPIST-1, they're not just communications. They appear to be coordination signals for some kind of mission. If my analysis is correct, those objects have been traveling toward our position for weeks, possibly months. Are you telling me, Rodriguez said slowly, that we're about to make first contact with an alien species? The bridge fell silent except for the hum of electronics and the distant rumble of the ship's engines. I think that's exactly what I'm telling you, Captain, Dr. Williams replied. Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to me. Chen, you've been tracking these signals longer than anyone. What's your assessment? I thought about the music I'd been hearing for weeks, the mathematical beauty embedded in those transmissions, the careful way the signals had evolved and adapted to our observations. I think they've been trying to establish communication for some time, I said, and I think we've finally proven ourselves capable of listening. The first vessel appeared like a note becoming visible in a song you'd only heard before. I was stationed at the sensor array when it materialized on our screens, not approaching from a distance as our long-range sensors had suggested, but simply arriving. One moment the space ahead of us was empty. The next moment something was there, hanging in the void like a crystalline teardrop catching starlight. The object was beautiful in a way that made my chest tight. Its surface seemed to shift between translucent and opaque, revealing glimpses of internal structures that defied easy categorization. It wasn't quite organic, wasn't quite mechanical. It was something altogether new. 6 more objects materialized over the next hour, each one unique yet clearly part of the same design philosophy. They arranged themselves in a perfect heptagon around the Aegis Dawn, maintaining a respectful distance that spoke of peaceful intentions while demonstrating capabilities that humbled our understanding of physics. How did they get here so fast? Dr. Williams whispered. The answer came through our communication system, delivered in a warm, adaptive voice. We have been traveling for many of your years, the voice explained, but not through the space you understand. We use the songs between the stars, the resonances that connect all things. Your mathematics call them quantum entanglements, but we know them as the harmony that binds the universe together. Lena looked up from her communications console. Captain, they're requesting permission to come aboard. Not physically. They want to establish what they're calling a resonance link. They say it will allow for true communication. Rodriguez hesitated. What exactly does a resonance link involve? Think of it as shared dreaming, the alien voice replied. Your consciousness and ours will meet in a space that exists between thought and reality. You will understand us, and we will understand you in ways that mere words cannot convey. Is it safe? As safe as listening to music. We are musicians, not warriors. We have traveled across the galaxy not to conquer, but to harmonize. I felt something stir in my chest, a resonance that went deeper than sound, deeper than thought. Captain, I volunteer to be the first. The resonance link began subtly. I was sitting in the observation bay, connected to the ship's communication array through a modified headset. At first, I felt nothing except the familiar rhythm of the TRAPPIST-1 signals. Then the boundaries of the observation bay began to dissolve. I found myself floating in space, but not the cold, hostile vacuum I knew. This was space filled with music, visible, tangible symphonies that connected star to star like glowing threads. The darkness between worlds wasn't empty, but alive with harmonies that pulsed with the heartbeats of civilizations I'd never imagined. Welcome, Marcus Chen of Earth, a presence said without using words. We have been waiting to share this with you. The being that communicated with me wasn't visible in any conventional sense, but I could perceive its essence, ancient beyond measure, patient as stone, yet filled with curiosity and wonder. You are the composers, I said, understanding flooding through me. "We are one voice in a choir that spans the galaxy," it replied. "Each world that achieves harmony becomes part of the greater symphony. Your species has just begun to hear the first notes." Images flowed through my consciousness. Not visual exactly, but something richer and more complete. I saw the TRAPPIST-1 system as it truly was. Not just planets orbiting a star, but nodes in a vast network of consciousness that connected countless worlds. Each planet was inhabited by beings who had long ago transcended the need for physical conflict, instead channeling their creative energies into cosmic compositions. "The signals we detected," I said, "they weren't just communications, they were invitations. Every species that develops the ability to listen eventually hears the song," my guide confirmed. "Most learn to sing along. Some, like your species, show the potential to add new harmonies we have never heard before." "What makes you think humans can contribute something new?" The presence seemed to smile. "Because you are the first species we have encountered that experiences music as both mathematics and emotion. Your brains process rhythm as logical structure while your hearts respond to it as pure feeling. This duality creates possibilities for composition that we had not considered." Through the link, I began to understand the true scope of what we were being offered. The TRAPPIST Coalition was part of something far larger, a galactic network of civilizations that had discovered how to use the fundamental frequencies of reality itself as a medium for communication, travel, and artistic expression. "But why now?" I asked. "Because your species stands at a crossroads," the being replied, and for the first time I sensed concern. "You have developed the power to destroy yourselves, but also the wisdom to recognize that destruction serves no purpose. The songs we've been singing toward your world are not just invitations. They are also healing harmonies, designed to help your species find the path toward unity rather than conflict." "You've been treating us?" "Helping you heal," the presence corrected gently. "Every species goes through the phase your people are experiencing now, the tension between individual advancement and collective survival. Most destroy themselves. Some find balance. A few show the potential to transcend that balance entirely." "There is a risk," my guide acknowledged. "Your species' capacity for both creation and destruction is unprecedented. You could contribute symphonies of unimaginable beauty to the galactic song, or you could introduce discordant elements that damage the harmony we have spent eons building. So why take that risk?" "Because the alternative is stagnation. The galactic symphony is ancient and complex, but it has grown predictable. Your species offers the possibility of evolution, new melodies, new rhythms, new ways of understanding the music that connects all things." When the resonance link finally ended, I found myself back in the observation bay, surrounded by concerned faces. Captain Rodriguez, Dr. Williams, and Lena were all staring at me with expressions that mixed worry with intense curiosity. "Marcus," Lena asked softly, "you've been unconscious for 3 hours." I sat up slowly, my mind still processing the enormity of what I'd experienced. "They're not invaders," I said finally. "They're teachers, artists. They've been waiting for us to develop enough to join something incredible." "Join what?" Rodriguez asked. "A symphony," I said. "A song that spans the galaxy and connects every intelligent species that's learned to listen. They're offering to teach us how to add our voice to it." Over the next 48 hours, every crew member who volunteered was offered the opportunity to experience the resonance link. Those who did came back changed, filled with the same sense of wonder and possibility that had transformed my understanding of what the universe could be. Captain Rodriguez was among the last to volunteer, and when he returned from his own communion with the composers, his expression was one of profound awe mixed with responsibility. "They want us to carry a message back to Earth," he announced. "Not just about what we've discovered, but about what we've been offered. Humanity gets to choose its own future: isolation or integration, competition or cooperation, discord or harmony. The journey back to Earth felt different. Where once the space between stars had seemed empty and hostile, now I could perceive the subtle harmonies that connected everything. Faint melodies that flowed between worlds like cosmic rivers carrying messages between civilizations. But as the days passed and Earth grew closer, I began to realize that our return would be far more complicated than any of us had anticipated. "We have a problem," Dr. Williams announced during our morning briefing, 3 weeks into the journey home. "Word has already leaked about our encounter, but the story that's spreading isn't about music and harmony." The headlines were exactly what I'd feared. Alien fleet confronts human vessel. First contact turns hostile. Corporate ship barely escapes alien ambush. "Corporate," Rodriguez said grimly. "They received our initial data packets and immediately classified them as a security threat. By the time they realized what we'd actually encountered, the military had already been briefed." "There's more," Dr. Williams continued. 3 battle fleets have been dispatched to the TRAPPIST-1 system. The official mission is reconnaissance and threat assessment, but the ship manifest suggests they're preparing for military action. The irony was devastating. Humanity's first contact with a peaceful galactic civilization was being transformed into a pretext for the kind of aggressive expansion that had defined our species' darkest chapters. "Can we stop it?" I asked. Rodriguez shook his head. "We're one merchant vessel carrying an impossible story. There are 3 battle fleets representing the combined military might of the inner colonies." That night, I found myself back in the observation bay, staring out at the stars and trying to process what we'd learned. The galaxy was full of civilizations that had chosen harmony over conflict. They had built something beautiful and lasting across thousands of light years, and humanity was about to attack them because we couldn't conceive of any other way to respond to the unknown. "You're thinking too hard," Lena said, settling into the chair beside me. "The composers told me that every species faces this choice," I said. "Fear or understanding? Most choose fear, and they destroy themselves before they can learn to sing. I thought we might be different." "Maybe we still can be," she replied. "The fleets haven't reached TRAPPIST-1 yet. Maybe there's still time to change the narrative." Over the next 72 hours, Lena orchestrated what would later be called the most significant act of civil disobedience in human history. Using her access to the ship's communication systems, she began broadcasting our encounter with the composers on every available frequency. Not the sanitized reports that corporate had filed, not the fear-mongering headlines, but the actual recordings. The music from TRAPPIST-1e, the gentle, adaptive voices of the composers, the resonance link experiences of everyone who had volunteered to participate. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, our transmissions were being picked up by vessels throughout the outer colonies. Independent broadcasters began retransmitting the signals. Amateur radio operators on Earth started searching for traces of the TRAPPIST-1 music. And something extraordinary began to happen. People heard the music and understood, in ways that transcended language and politics, that this wasn't a threat to be feared, but an opportunity to be embraced. The gentle harmonies carried their own message. This was art, not aggression. Beauty, not brutality. An invitation, not an invasion. But the most significant response came from an unexpected source: the composers themselves. 3 days after our unauthorized broadcast began, every radio telescope in human space detected the same phenomenon. The gentle music from TRAPPIST-1 was growing stronger, more complex, more beautiful, and embedded within it were harmonic variations that corresponded to human musical traditions. They were learning our songs and incorporating them into their own compositions, creating hybrid melodies that spoke to both human and alien aesthetics. They're showing us what's possible, I realized. Every time someone hears their music and responds with understanding rather than fear, they adapt their composition to include that person's perspective. The effect was cumulative and accelerating. Each human who heard the enhanced music became a carrier for the harmony the composers represented, not through any kind of alien influence, but through the simple recognition that cooperation created more beautiful results than conflict. Opposition to the military mission grew stronger each day. Protests erupted on Earth and throughout the inner colonies. Scientists published open letters calling for peaceful contact. Religious leaders spoke of divine music connecting all creation. But the battle fleets continued toward TRAPPIST-1, their commanders operating under orders that had been issued before humanity truly understood what it was approaching. The moment that would determine humanity's future arrived at 1432 Earth Standard Time. I was standing in the observation deck of the Aegis Dawn, now docked at Luna Station, watching Earth turn slowly below us. We had arrived to a world transformed by the music we'd helped spread. But 40 light-years away, Admiral Sarah Voss was preparing to give the order that would either establish humanity as a galactic civilization or condemn us to extinction. "Connection established," Lena announced. "We're linked to the Deep Space Command Center." The main display showed the tactical situation. 3 human battle fleets had taken positions around the TRAPPIST-1 system, their weapons powered and ready. On the opposite side, hundreds of composer vessels hung in space like living crystals, making no aggressive moves but clearly prepared for whatever humanity chose to do next. "Admiral Voss," came the voice from Deep Space Command, "you have authorization to proceed with Operation Safeguard, neutralize the alien threat, and secure the system for human expansion." My heart stopped. After everything we'd done, all the evidence we'd presented, the military was still committed to its original course. But then Admiral Voss did something that changed everything. "Negative, Command," she said, her voice steady and clear. "I'm ordering all fleets to stand down and assume defensive positions only. We have new intelligence that fundamentally alters our understanding of this situation." "Ma'am, what new intelligence?" "Listen," she said simply, and then she opened a channel between the battle fleets and the composer vessels, allowing the alien music to flow directly into the communication systems of every human ship in the TRAPPIST-1 system. The music that emerged wasn't just the gentle harmonies we'd been hearing for weeks. It was those harmonies enhanced and transformed by the thousands of human voices that had joined the song since our broadcasts began. Earth musicians had been composing responses to the alien melodies. Children had been humming variations. Scientists had been calculating mathematical relationships that expressed human emotional responses to the cosmic symphony. All of it had been detected, analyzed, and incorporated by the composers into a new form of music that was neither fully human nor fully alien, but something unprecedented. A true collaboration between species. "My God," whispered someone on the command frequency. It's beautiful." Through instruments I was only beginning to understand. The composers were extending individual resonance links to every human in the system who chose to accept them. Not to control or manipulate, but to share the experience I'd had. The revelation of what the galaxy could become when species chose harmony over hostility. One by one, the battle fleets powered down their weapons. "Command, this is Admiral Voss," came the transmission that would be studied by historians for centuries. "I'm formally requesting a complete mission revision. These beings are not a threat, they're teachers, and they're offering to show us something extraordinary." The response from Earth was immediate. Threats, demands, assertions that Voss had been compromised by alien influence. But by then, it didn't matter. The crews of 3 entire battle fleets had heard the music and understood what it meant, and they had chosen wonder over fear. "Marcus," Lena said softly, "look at this." She had routed the global communication feeds through our display, showing the real-time response from across human space. The music was spreading faster than any information network could carry it. somehow propagating through the quantum entanglements the composers had described. People were singing everywhere, in their homes, in the streets, in schools, in offices, and spaceships scattered across a dozen star systems. The harmony that had begun with 7 voices on 7 distant worlds was growing to include millions of human voices. "It's not just music," Dr. Williams said, her voice filled with wonder. "The harmonic patterns are actually restructuring neural pathways, promoting cooperation over competition, understanding over fear. It's like medicine for the soul." She was right. Through the observational data streaming in from across human space, we could see the effects in real time. Crime rates were dropping. International conflicts were being resolved through negotiation. Environmental restoration projects were accelerating as people began to think in terms of harmony with their world rather than domination over it. "There's more," came Admiral Voss's voice. "The alien vessels, the composers, they're offering to establish a permanent embassy here, not to colonize or control, but to serve as a bridge between humanity and the galactic network they represent." The implications were staggering. Humanity would gain access to technologies, philosophies, and artistic traditions developed over millions of years by hundreds of species. But more than that, we would become contributing members of a galactic civilization based on principles we were only beginning to understand. "What do they want in return?" asked someone from command. The answer came directly from the composers, their harmonized voice flowing through every communication system in human space simultaneously. "Nothing that you do not freely choose to give," they sang. "We ask only that you add your voice to the song that connects all things. Every species contributes something unique to the galactic symphony. Your gift is the ability to find beauty in discord, harmony in chaos, hope in despair. These are qualities the galaxy has never known before." As I listened to those words, I finally understood why the composers had taken such interest in humanity despite our violent tendencies. We weren't valuable despite our conflicts. We were valuable because of them. Our struggle to find meaning in an apparently chaotic universe had given us perspectives that species born into galactic harmony couldn't achieve. We were the cosmic equivalent of musicians who had learned to create beauty from noise, order from chaos, hope from desperation. Over the following hours, I watched as humanity made its choice. Not through government declarations or military commands, but through the individual decisions of billions of people who heard the music and chose to add their voices to it. Children drew pictures of crystalline ships among the stars. Scientists began developing theories that incorporated consciousness as a fundamental force. Artists created works that bridged human and alien aesthetics. Musicians composed symphonies that used mathematical relationships derived from the songs of distant worlds. And slowly, beautifully, humanity began to sing in harmony not just with itself, but with a galaxy full of voices we were only beginning to hear. 6 months later, I stood once again in the observation bay of the Aegis Dawn, but this time we were orbiting TRAPPIST-1e, not as conquerors or even as visitors, but as students learning to participate in something larger than ourselves. Through the viewport, I could see the Terminator zone where the composers had first learned to sing, that narrow band of eternal twilight where day and night achieved perfect balance. It was beautiful beyond description, but no more beautiful than the knowledge that humanity had found its place in the cosmic choir. The signal that had started this journey, that simple pulse I detected in the darkness between stars, had become something far greater. It was now part of a song that connected every conscious being in the galaxy, a harmony that would continue growing and evolving as new voices joined and old ones found new ways to contribute. I thought about the choice every species faced when they first heard the galactic song: fear or wonder, isolation or integration, discord or harmony. Humanity had chosen harmony, and the universe was more beautiful because of it. As I listened to the music that now flowed constantly through human space, a blend of alien mathematics and human emotion, cosmic consciousness and earthly creativity, I realized that this wasn't an ending at all. It was the beginning of humanity's true song, the first notes of our contribution to a symphony that had been playing since the galaxy was young and would continue long after our sun had faded to a whisper. We had learned to sing, and the cosmos was listening.